Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. How are you guys doing today? We had a brief moment about a half hour ago where we went live unintentionally while we were finishing up a video. That was really weird, but hey, there are gremlins out there. So, anybody in the chat room that can hear me, let me know that you can hear me just to make sure the gremlins aren't at it again. Do you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. It's really awesome to see you guys again today. Yeah, that was really weird. We got a message from one of our friends, and he said we were on live, and you have to go through like 10 different steps to go live. So I don't know how that happened. So I'm really, really sorry to anyone who clicked there and we weren't there.
Yeah, we were planning on going live, but we're going to wait about 2 hours. But we figured, let's do it now.
Absolutely. You know, maybe they're trying to tell us something. Maybe we're supposed to be live right now.
Just go with the flow. So, yeah, we're going to talk UFOs. We're going to talk aliens. And one of the things I wanted to start out with was, and I keep meaning to do this, but I keep forgetting. I wanted to go over some of the polls. So we took a poll. What is the main cause of the Earth changes? And so, as you can see here, man-made climate change came in at 14%. The Nemesis system, Nibiru Planet X, 16%. Grand Solar Minimum, 45%. So that was the big winner. Pole shift, 11%. And then the photon belt, or otherwise a nebula, a highly charged part of the galaxy that we are going through, was 13%. So, yeah, Grand Solar Minimum won as the main cause. A lot of people said all of the above, which it only gave me the options to do this. But I thought also if you do all of the above, I thought that would probably win. But yet I was curious to see that, we had 14% that did say man-made climate change, because I think most of the people I thought most of the people in the family, really are not completely believers in climate change, unless you're talking about, the cobwebs in the sky and that type of thing. Then, yeah, I could say, oh, for sure, that's a huge driver.
I think so. I'm sort of on the fence. I do believe we have an extra planetary system that they're not telling us about, because things that they tell us just don't make sense. Like last year, I think it came out that, oh, by the way, the moon is in our atmosphere. How could they not know this? Especially if they supposedly sent something to the moon. That was the kicker for me. And then we see all of these other things in the sky, and the elites claim that we're here all alone, and they really think we're so stupid, and that kind of makes me sad. It's like, in a way, we have a voice, but we don't have a voice. But we do have this channel, which is really super awesome, and I'll always keep going back to being super grateful for everybody here. Hi, Ozboy. Hi, Crystal Core. Hi, everybody. It's so great to see you guys. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, wonderful to see all you guys once again. So I thought this was really cool and interesting, and I love doing these type of polls. So the one before this is what we're going to talk about more now, and that is, which do you feel is the truth? And the options are: all aliens and extraterrestrials are demons. That got 17%. Aliens, extraterrestrials exist and have visited Earth, 47%. There are aliens and extraterrestrials, but they haven't been here, 2%. There are no aliens and extraterrestrials, we are alone, 3%. And then the gods were aliens and we are their children or their experiment, 31%. So that was really an interesting one too, because when you put these two numbers together, because these two combined are all people that believe that aliens, extraterrestrials have been here, then that's 78%. So that's definitely the strong majority that believe that ETs and IDs, interdimensionals as well, they do exist and they have been here. So the vast majority feels that is the case. And that's cool. That's really cool because I think a lot of people are waking up to that fact. And what's really, really interesting is the fact that, especially when you dig deep into the Middle Ages and going farther back, I think that's the stuff that's so convincing. What were these people seeing up in the sky when they really didn't know how to explain it? See, that's part of it. Now we kind of are at the point where we realize, that there are planets and that there, all those little lights in the sky, well, they are all suns, and perhaps they're all actually conscious beings as well. That'll be a video I'm going to do on EE-Arts later. But besides that, the fact that life is probably abundant out there. I mean, just exceedingly abundant, way more abundant. And, in the old days, we just didn't have the words for this. We didn't have that concept. Just like with in the Americas, when the conquistadors first came and their ships were like off the coast, they couldn't see them. The natives couldn't even see the ships because they couldn't conceive of it. So that's pretty cool. And, Fifth World is mentioning Chinese mythology. Yeah, it's all around the world. The mythology, the mythos is all around the world. It comes from every culture. So it is true. I mean, we just didn't really have maybe as much of a concept of life and planets and all that. So, we used different words, and, things just kind of got conglomerated into angels and demons for the minds of some.
They did. I think it's really sad. Like, some people still believe that like all aliens, extraterrestrials are demons, when they very well could be like part of your higher self. But that's part of how they control us, is to give us a definition of what something is and put it in a holy book, maybe the Bible or something, and say, if you don't believe everything in this book, you're going to go to hell. And then they scare you into believing something that's probably not true. So I look at the teaching matrix too. I think I mean, to think that we're alone here is just, that is such, I can't believe that. Even inside of our own bodies, we have little different beings. So me sitting here alone isn't even really me sitting here alone.
No, not when you have trillions of cells and your microbiome, which is like all the things that are not you that are in you, is 10 times that number. We are each a world unto ourselves. It is written, ye are gods, most definitely. As above, so below. This is the way the universe works, and it's clear there. And some brought up the Hindu yugas and the Vimanas. I'm fascinated, honestly, with the wars that we hear talked of in the Hindu holy books. The wars between the wars of the gods. And the descriptions, because, I mean, it sounds like Star Wars. It's straight out of Star Wars. And it's just really fascinating. And then we see these different cultures that have been so hidden. And we're just starting to learn, all about them. So here, I mean, the vast majority, 78% of the people do think that aliens have been here. And, many of us think that they're still here. I want to show you this. I do not know if this is BS or if this is real, but this is pretty wild. Let me kill this sound. What the heck is that? If that's real, what is that? What are we looking at? Is that a black hole up there? It made me think of that Soundgarden song, Black Hole Sun. I mean, seriously, if that's not photoshopped, wow, that's pretty incredible. What is that? You can see the clouds. It definitely looks like there's something behind the clouds. So, the Nibiru people out there, is this Nibiru?
It's funny how you and I see different things. I see like a cell, like, you have science books when you're in school, and they have pictures of different parts of the anatomy, and I see a cell, like a living cell. You know, you see the outer layer and you can see the cell wall, and it's different thicknesses and stuff. It's just fascinating. I love this picture. It's great.
Yeah, this is mind blowing, and if there's a part of my mind says that this got to be fake. This has to be fake. I'm somebody that believes in ETs. I believe in extraterrestrials. I believe that there are interdimensional beings as well. Yeah, I'm blown away by this one. But if it's not fake, is it the veil dropping? Because I mean, for one, both Cindy and I, we're both pretty intuitive, and we've both seen things all our life, and we're seeing more and more quote unquote energies / entities every day. And yet I still have a problem with this one in that it's just too damn cool. And if it is real, wow, just wow,
Going back to when you were talking about how the natives couldn't see the ships off the shore, that makes me feel like there really is no veil. I don't think there is a veil. I think everything is there, and when we have the ability in our brain to comprehend it, then we can see it. And I think like a lot of the foods that we eat and stuff, they keep our brain from functioning at its highest. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a veil. I think that brought me back to Monument Valley when I went to visit there, and the man was pointing out certain rocks, and he would say, you see those ones there, those are the three sisters. And then as soon as I saw it in that light, then boom, I see three sisters, and he showed me some that look like mittens. And as soon as he said they look like mittens, boom, I could see the mittens. But everything was still there in plain sight. It just had to be pointed out to me. And this is just fascinating. I don't know. I'm waiting for red water to drip out of it.
So, I mean, I'm noticing like some of the details here. You can see the kind of colors emanating off of it, almost, sort of rainbowish. You see red, pinkish, yellow over here, a little bit more purple. I see that some people say that they think this is real. Pretty interesting stuff. Really interesting stuff. Very cool. I mean, that's one of the most curious things I've seen. I've seen some that are just obvious Photoshop. And, this could be Photoshop, but it's very curious. So this comes from Rodney McLean. And you see he's a scuba diver. And so this is what they saw today and thought I would share. Very strange indeed. Taken Thursday, the 31st of October, 1 p.m., Trinidad and Tobago. And beautiful islands, a gorgeous area. Yeah, that's pretty incredible stuff. It's really interesting.
I know. I'm seeing Dominic Kenyon says placenta with a cord. I know. It looks like a cell membrane to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's like fascinating, or I'm waiting for like the water to break or something weird about it. But this has been my favorite out of all the things that I've seen. I mean, my face totally lit up when I saw this one. So it's got to be something pretty awesome. Pretty awesome indeed.
Most definitely. And so, these are interesting times. There's more things in the sky than ever. And, there's a lot of change going on as well. What did the ancients really see? So when we talk about the wheels and within wheels of Ezekiel, what was he really seeing? And again, they didn't have the words for it. You got to recognize they didn't have the words. It's so interesting too, because we talk about cherubim and seraphim are like flaming serpents. And, what are they really? I mean, are they, dragons of some sort? Are they the Draco? Are they something totally different? Are we talking about elemental beings like the Jinn? Everybody has their own opinion and everybody has their own tradition that they come from. Think about it. We can only see reality from our own point of view, and each of us has been educated and experienced through different venues, so everybody sees something in their own light. We're each experiencing our own reality, which obviously often, we cannot agree on. So again, too, you could have 10 people, and I've seen people do this before in like studies, and have an event happen, and you'll get 10 totally different descriptions.
Yeah, just like even if I've seen experiments done where like somebody will run through a room and steal some purses, and then you take like 10 people that saw that person and give a description, and you'll have 10 different perspectives, which is different perspectives are so important. I think that's why it's important that we all get together, because since we all do come from, one source, our perspectives all coming together are going to pull together the pieces of this puzzle. The only sad part is a lot of us have been, we've been taught things that we shouldn't have been taught, taught that, well, what you're seeing isn't real, and no, that's just in your imagination, and it makes us doubt ourselves. And when we doubt ourselves, then that's when the problems arise.
Exactly. And so many people have had their own experiences. Like I've shared with you what I've seen and, experienced in my life. And, honestly, it's pretty wild. And many people might think I'm crazy if I share with them what we've experienced. And I've told you guys, like for one, I saw a very tall being that some might classify as a tall gray, some might as a tall white. It was definitely not human, and but it was real, but it was definitely interdimensional, because I was watching it for like 45 seconds as it was trying to change its, I think, vibratory rate and get out of my view. But it did seem kind of, I don't want to say panicked, but almost kind of like surprised I could see it for so long. And many people have had these type of experiences as well. I mean, I think if you really asked the entire population, and they were completely legitimate and not afraid of saying what they've experienced, I bet you there's way more people that have had direct encounters with beings that are extraterrestrial or interdimensional than you would think. I think it's a good chunk of the population. And, a lot of people that are RH negative, I think, get these type of events because they're being monitored. And the whole thing with the RH negative bloodline, where is it from?
That's curious. My auntie, I was just talking to her the other day, and she told me that she is RH negative, and I never knew that. And, it makes me wonder, because in the family, we've had things happen to us, and I've seen things all my life, and in the beginning, I just thought everybody else could see them too, so I never questioned it. And as I got older, then I realized that, wow, I guess I was seeing things that other people couldn't see, but it was just so common for me. And like through the school and through education and through a lot of people telling me what I wasn't seeing, well, for a long time I didn't see it anymore, but now that I understand what was happening to me when I was younger, I'm sort of bringing myself back to where I was. And yeah, I'm very intuitive, I'm very sensitive, and that can really cause a lot of problems, actually.
Oh, it definitely could, because you could easily be labeled all sorts of things: bipolar, schizophrenic, delusional, all sorts of things. And when I think about like just how far back does it go as far as putting down people's abilities to, share their experiences in a multidimensional way, because we are multidimensional beings. I think there's been a concerted effort to put this down that goes back hundreds of years, probably thousands of years, because they don't want us recognizing exactly what our reality is. And I wish you guys could see Zeke right now, because he's just staring at me like he's listening to a really interesting lecture and like, oh yeah, that's good stuff. But Brenda says, my cat sees something in my house that I can't see. Yes, they can. And so, there was one person that was in the chat room, and I want to let everybody speak their truth, but we have to recognize that negative energies are very, very powerful. And, in this world, we don't need a lot more negative energies. Honestly, like with the earth changes and stuff, there's a part of me that doesn't really enjoy covering the earth changes. I want people to be awake to what's going on and to be prepared. But, looking at it and reading the death and destruction all the time, it can pull you down. It definitely can. And so, even things, I'm very mindful of negative energy and negative intention, and I will get very wound up. We did a video today that's going to be going up on Patreon, all about the V word that you guys all know we don't speak of when we're on this venue. But that stuff really gets me irritated and ticked, mad, outright mad. But at the same time, we don't want to wallow in negative energies. So as far as like people swearing or putting other people down, I just don't want to tolerate it, honestly, because I don't feel it's necessary. It doesn't do anything constructive. It's not constructive, and there's enough negative energy and loosh in this world. And I already have a couple other videos in mind, and one of them is going to be all about, not putting out, taking away the food source from when we're talking about loosh, because there are beings that, they feed off of negative energies. And there are beings all around us all the time, and some of them are not so nice, and some of them, they like to play tricks on us. They like to get us mad at each other. We really do have that angel on one shoulder and a devil on another shoulder, in a sense, that are always, there trying to influence us in one way or another.
They are. And yeah, I've experienced that all my life. Another thing that I didn't really know what was going on, having all these emotions and all these energies hit me. And, my emotions are really strong. So it is easy for me to get pulled down, but I have to stay mindful of everything around me and the people around me. And I even had to learn myself to go within to stop the negative talk, to stop the negative dialect to myself. And one thing that really, really helped me was to learn about, is it Dr. Emoto? The story of water and how Emoto and water. Yeah, Emoto and water, and how water, depending on your thoughts or the way your thoughts or words, the vibration can actually change how that water looks. So if your body is all this water, well, what you say matters. It matters. Look, that's a huge, huge deal. Before prayer, there's water. After prayer. So if you can keep the positive comments and the positive dialect going in your own head, then that's just going to raise you in vibration. And no, we don't need the negativity. We have enough negativity. We all deal with it out in this world. A lot of us are really beat down. And the one thing that really helped me was to read about this and understand it, to turn my frown upside down. That is so corny. But yeah, it really helped. It helped a lot.
Yeah, I see a lot of familiar names out there, wonderful names. Good to see everybody out there as well. So yeah, Moto and water, that says it all. That's why we have to be so mindful. Like yesterday I put out a couple of videos that, at the same time, they're not positive subjects. One of them was, definitely a hidden history and going back to Ford and GM. And both of those were demonetized, so there's like no money that comes in off of those. But yet there's subjects that got to be talked about, because if people don't realize that, the corporations, and this will be demonetized because we're talking about this now too. The corporations, they play both sides often. And again, we need positivity, and we need, people coming together. We need unity instead of this division. And yet we need to recognize the bigger picture too, like we were talking about here. Now this, I only put this up because this reminds me of Wheels Within Wheels. Now this one was taken over in Charleston, South Carolina. I've seen personally several of these as well and gotten photos like it. And these, I've had people say these feel angelic, they feel alive, as opposed to something that's a vehicle. But I don't know, it clicks to me. I could see this being perhaps something like this, maybe, is what he had seen, and we're talking about Ezekiel's wheels. And interesting. I've seen these in different colors as well. What's your impression on this? Do you think it's a ship, or you think it's a being?
It feels like it's a being and a ship. Like somehow it's using its surroundings for itself to come into this dimension. Very interdimensional. I love the color. That's an interesting color. And it's just like how come we keep seeing all these things, yet the elites and mainstream just completely keep bashing it down like we're all crazy. And I just gotta say, you guys are like so sweet in there. I'm watching you guys in the chat, and I just love the positive outlook. And somebody did say that you can't have the positive without the negative, and that's true. I just personally, I think I've had enough negative myself, so I'm just gonna stay on the positive side and do my absolute best. But you guys are so sweet out there. I mean, this is incredible. Yeah, Alicia Liar. Yes, true. I understand that. I'm super sensitive with people's emotions, and it lays heavy on me. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I get that. And I'm working on like shielding and stuff and building up my own energy to help kind of block out any bad energies. So, what do we got here? Oh, hi, Bruco. Hi, Bruno. How you doing? I saw you in the chat. It's so good to see you. I love your show.
And so, yeah, I did watch Bruno's last two, and Bruno's with us videos, and yeah, I agree totally with where he's going. Yeah, we're in a Truman Show in so many ways, and so when we realize that, and yet when we realize that, it changes our reality to a huge degree. When we recognize that, well, we've been watched the whole time, and yeah, there are those out here, the controllers too. That are trying to manufacture a certain reality for us, and they're doing a pretty damn good job of it. They've been doing it for a long time. So Bruno's going to come on with me. We'll get together with a time, and we'll do a show going in depth. And then we also have Tony Taylor out there, and she will be at some point coming on with us as well. Where is she? So I'm looking for hers as well. And she really specializes in ascension. I know she hasn't been doing quite as much with right now because she's had a lot going on in her life. But she has promised that she will come on when she gets the time. And so I wanted to bring her up as well.
Definitely. Tony does a lot of really good work for those of us going through ascension, and we don't know what's going on. And it's really quite difficult to be out in this world, out in this matrix where people just don't understand. And it's not that they're bad or mean or nasty. That's not it. They just don't get it. And she brings in a lot of people who do get it. She brings a lot of us together. So yeah, please go see her channel. She's super awesome. And hi, Ken. Hi, Andrew. Hi, Nathan. Hi, Quartz Quantum. Hi, you guys. I'm so happy to see all of you here. This is wonderful. Just wonderful. Yeah, I think we have it up now. So very, very good place to go and meet with other people that are also going through some strange things. And it might not be physical changes. It might be emotional changes. I know for me, my emotions went from a little difficult to handle to extremely difficult to handle. So I became like 50 times more sensitive. So, and that's going to happen with the rays and everything and all the upgrades. And here's the fifth world. She also has a channel. She does a lot of really good work too. And I think she has a lot of anxiety, kind of like me too. So yeah, all of us banding together, and this is what's really going to help a lot of us get through what we're going through here.
Yeah, we're definitely a part of a much bigger family here, and it's good to see all you guys here. So, one of the things I just did was click the bell because, you used to be able to get, like I was saying in today's video, you used to be able to get notifications, but they do have a new algorithm. And it could be part of a bigger plan going on, as we know. And the new algorithm is one where if you're subscribed, just subscribed, you might not see anything from that channel. You have to click all notifications to even get anything, any sort of notifications. And so this is the Fifth World channel as well. And so more videos on ascension. You can see some of the topics talking about the real rapture, Anunnaki, and different things here as well. So you could check out her videos as well. So I wanted to just bring that up because we got 3 great people here in the chat. So we got a lot of stuff. 1871, I've brought that year up. It's just an interesting year. Great Chicago Fire of 1871, right? We have the Banking Act of 1871, and that was the year that Albert Pike said there was going to be 3 world wars. The same year. Pretty interesting stuff. Pretty interesting stuff when you think about it. And when you go deep into the Chicago Fire, it gets more and more interesting all the time. DEWS, I don't think humans had that capability back at the time of the Great Chicago Fire. Or at least we didn't think we did, if you guys know what I mean there. But, I mean, look at this. I mean, that's an incredible picture there. Having a UFO beaming down this light beam or whatever that is a laser, and then the Chicago Fire going on. Now, were they saving people? Were they beaming me up, Scotty? Or were they actually helping to fan the flames?
I don't know. Somebody says in here a solar flare. I don't know. Maybe that's a ship coming down to help people from a solar flare. I don't know if we're gonna have sorry, gosh, my throat. I'll get you some water. Thank you. Here, you take. I'm like really bad.
So I find this fascinating. This is not the only time we see stuff like this. If we start digging through our history, it's pretty incredible, really. So there actually were reports of people seeing these flying saucers with beams of light coming down. And, The Gods of Eden is a great book by William Bramley, who's a historian. And he said he started out to make just another history book because he's written a few. And then he just kept seeing this connection to UFOs and controllers, extraterrestrials, or, extraterrestrials working in concert with maybe some humans that never lost technology from previous civilizations. And I keep feeling that there's something to that. And that, what if some people did go down inside the earth? We know that Hopi talking about the Anunnaki, right? The ant people that saved them and brought them down into the earth while the changes were going on, and then brought them back out when it was safe. It's really curious, very, very curious. The Hopi Sumerian commonalities. There's just too much here. There's too much. When we look at this, there's all sorts of these humanoid beings. That's interesting. I think I've seen Corey Good have a picture of a being that looks a lot like that. Are these all just art depictions? Nothing to see here? When we see the gods and their flying machines or their wings on them, what is that really symbolizing? And there's the Hopi with the ant people. Those look like antennae, don't they? Mm-hmm. And look at this. Curious, There is so much going on here. Way more than meets the eye. And of course, we got the reptilians as well. And, I don't know if Obama lived in ancient Egypt or not, but perhaps it's pretty curious. There are so many different things that we see that point to the fact that there's different beings around us. Anunnaki, ant friend, that's a fact. And they're beings that took them in and made them safe. So we have divergent stories too. We have stories about the same sort of beings, but then sometimes benevolent, sometimes malevolent. Look at these. Those right there, right? Go all the way back up to where the guys were wearing these. Are we talking about the same thing? Are we talking about the same beings? I think it's overwhelming when you look at the legends. And, some of my friends that are, in the Native American circle and, are privy to some legends that are not always shared outright, they talk way clearly about this, very, very clearly about it, what their legends that are hand down, and they don't necessarily always share them with the rest of us out here. And it's just fascinating stuff. And I got to wonder if that's part of why they were also so persecuted, because of that knowledge.
Yeah, I think they were persecuted because of what they knew, and they knew they had like really strong energies and they knew how to use them. And one thing that was really interesting, going back to the carvings on the wall, it was super curious how it was almost like a laser put those carvings on the wall. And it, otherwise I don't know how they could have gotten there. It's not like they were like tattooed or something. So it just makes sense that it was some sort of a laser pen or something. And that was done so long ago, yet they say that, we didn't have any more than just a chisel and hammer back then. And that doesn't make any sense to me either. So I guess it's all about making things make sense, sort of, kind of.
Yeah, most definitely. And so when we look at these photos, you have angels with wings. Okay, so if that's depicting our traditional thought of angels, and again, I think there's a lot of words just don't do justice to things, because originally angels is messenger from the Greek or original word. So why show these guys with wings and these guys driving ships? Why the two different? What's the purpose of this guy being in a ship of some sort flying through, and yet these are these basically denoting more interdimensional beings, and these are actually people that land and jump out of the ship? Is that what they're trying to get across here? And I love this one too. Look at that. Why? I mean, if they're all angels, because some would say, well, that's just, they're depicting the angels in like the angels of the moon, maybe, or of a star. But what do you think? And so Nathan says all the questions will be answered next 4.5 years. Yeah, we are definitely going through disclosure of sorts, and it's a great, interesting time to be alive. It really is. I do think that we are getting the truths, and I shared with you as a kid. It was like when I learned about death and everything, the first thought that came to my mind was, I got to know the answers to all the secrets. I got to know everything before I die, or when I die, hopefully everything will be revealed. But that's kind of all I ever cared about, is just, unearthing the answers to everything.
Yeah, and Vladimus Maximus says people at different times in history had different kinds of consciousness and could see auras, energy fields, and more. I totally agree with you. And all of that's been hidden from us, at least us in, in the commonplace, the commonwealth. I don't know what you want to call us, but the elites, I believe they know. I also believe that they teach their children something completely different than what we're allowed to teach our children. And hi, Stephanie, it's always great to see you. Yeah, all these pictures of old, and if all aliens are demons, then how come they have these pictures that look like angels with wings hanging around Jesus? So,
but then also somebody in a spaceship, because he's clearly in some sort of vehicle flying.
He is.
So why do you have, and again, this one I think is from like 1500. Mm-hmm. So, this is in the Dark Ages, and, the Catholic Church was really in control of so much at that point in time. And now it's kind of morphed to being behind the scenes, but still, it's like, why designate those two different things? It's very fascinating. And as you see, some people are looking in different directions. All very interesting. It really is. It's curious. It's so curious. And this is not the only one. I mean, there's so many of these. Now, this one was associated with the Black Plague as well. And then so we see this looks like not Vader's ship, but maybe Snoke's ship. I mean, this looks like something out of Star Wars.
Definitely a ship. Definitely a ship. And it looks like they're having some sort of war games up there.
Yeah, it's really curious. You see a lot of crosses in the sky. You see the sun. You see these circles, and you see bodies burning down here, because this was a woodcut, I think, from Germany, if I remember right. And it was at the Black Plague time. So very, very curious. Very curious.
Yeah, and Joni Mama says we all looked like aliens once, embryos. She's right. We do. We look really strange when you look at the human body being formed. I think we all look sort of kind of the same, the first little while, and it gets really curious. And then there's this.
And I tell you, I did so much Bible studying from like 19 to like maybe 21. I mean, I studied it. The first time I read it through was back at 11. But then I went through a phase because my best friend was born again and dragged me to a whole bunch of churches. And then I started to really get into it, and I started really tearing it apart, and quickly got to the point that I had a lot of questions that nobody had even thought of, that were even teaching the Bible studies. And meanwhile, I'm cross-referencing things, and then all of a sudden it clicked when I'm reading about the great and terrible day of the Lord and stuff. And there's some scenes in there that look, they are easiest envisioned as an alien invasion. That's what it is the easiest explanation would be some sort of invasion. Just seeing and wailing in terror at seeing the day of the Lord, looking up into the sky and seeing just so many ships you can't even count them. What were these people seeing up here? What are these little things that they're seeing? And, obviously they're looking pretty concerned and scared. We see the sun's acting really weird.
Well, they look like a bunch of orbs to me. Just a bunch of, maybe they're beings, or maybe they're individuals in their own little plasma ships.
Yeah, Stephanie says the Great War in Heaven. What did that look like? Did it look like a scene from Star Wars? Is that what it looked like?
It could very well be. And then the adoration of the extraterrestrials. This one is one of my favorites because it has that thing beaming down into her crown chakra like she's getting a download.
Yeah, I did a video yesterday on is it okay for Christians to do Reiki, to learn Reiki and QiGong. And, what is this that we're seeing here? To me, this is so clearly, this is that. This is something circular here. It's kind of UFO-ish. Actually, we see a lot of cloud formations now, just like that one we were looking at earlier, that there seems to be something up there. What is it up there? A lot of the clouds are hiding stuff. I think a lot of us can agree on that. These are manufactured clouds that are hiding things. But you see, this is basically when Archangel Gabriel, notice the wings over here, is coming, and it's basically announcing the coming of Christ. And we see the Holy Spirit descending from this UFO, this cloud, this whatever it is, and going in through her crown chakra. And we heard about the virgin birth. Well, yeah, maybe there were some virgin births. Maybe there were some in vitro fertilizations going on. Who's to say?
Yeah, I get chills when you say that. Absolutely. It could very well be. I guess the only way really we can piece together our history is to do what we're doing right now and get online and talk to each other and talk to other people and get a whole bunch of different types of perspectives on what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a fabulous one, because here you see again kind of these angelic beings up there flying around, but then you have something that's kind of UFO-ish up there. Here we see an angel talking to a person, and here we see Mary, with the Holy Spirit coming through the crown chakra. And the crown chakra is our connection to the divine, and it is unfortunately not so developed in most people. And again, perhaps on purpose. This is just fascinating stuff. I just find this so incredible to look at it. And we find like so many examples where you got to wonder, exactly what's going on here. What did they really mean? What's the bigger picture?
That's a good point. The bigger picture, I think, is that we are all eventually going to go back to our original blueprint. I think we were screwed with, we were messed with, played with, and we're in a bit of a petri dish. But I think the natural thing that Mother Nature wants to do is for all of us to go back to our natural blueprint. And right now we're like morphing and we're confused. But Mother Nature, she's not confused. She knows exactly what she's doing.
I think we're all so connected because Andrew says exactly what's going to be a topic of another video that I thought up today while I was doing a little meditation. Our higher selves are stars, So again, it's as above, so below, and I think we could figure these things out. So I mean, I have my own philosophies on this and my own take on this, although I try to always stay open-minded. So if something else pops up that just sways you in a new direction because there's some more new information, then I'll always take other things into consideration. But at the same time, it's getting pretty clear to me, honestly. So interesting. Here we see a big angel wings way over here. Kind of looks like that glowing little orb. I mean, that looks kind of like a UFO there, covered by a cloud, and there's radiating light over here and over here. Pretty interesting again. You see the baby Christ. He's looking straight up. He's not looking at the sun. He's looking straight up into the sky. I don't even think a head could do that angle.
No.
But, amazing stuff. And when I talked about Krishna, and many people weren't aware of the whole concept of avatars, coming out of the Vedic tradition, because Vishnu, who is the preserver, he's the energy that's the preserver of the universe. He actually incarnates, and he has incarnated as Rama's one of his famous incarnations, and Krishna is probably the most famous incarnation. And Kalki is his next incarnation, which, who knows? Maybe he's walking the earth right now as we speak. But just the whole concept of a being from a much higher dimension, vibrational frequency, coming in and taking a body that can actually operate on this level in order to help people get back on the right path and restore balance and equilibrium to the force, we could say, right?
Yes, absolutely. Sherry's asking, how do I repel bad energy? I'm building my energy body. I do QiGong. Michael's taught me how to do that. The standing Tai Chi. It's all about moving the energy, and I'm still a long ways away. I still need help. But yeah, the energies are so strong. And if it wasn't for, I don't know, my surroundings, my family, you guys, I would probably, go a little bit nutty still. But yeah, a lot of things started to change when I started working on my energy body. I think that really helps a lot. So maybe I know he has videos on that would really, really help. In some ways, it makes you more sensitive, but in other ways, it builds your energy so that maybe the worse energies won't get through so easily.
Yeah, and so Stephanie said you could carry black tourmaline as well. There's, I was one of those people that, way back, I didn't really give any credence to crystals and things like that. But they really do have consciousness. They really can help, and they really do have different effects. So, and I'm talking way back for me, it's like 25, 30 years ago. But as I've gone farther down this path, I recognize that there's a lot of power. I have a huge geode, which has a amazing energy to it. And then I have a piece of selenite that's, really big and powerful. And they most definitely amplify the energies that I will use when I'm working on people. They definitely help.
Yeah, I usually do. I keep obsidian around me. So yeah, then there's the other rocks and gems and crystals. It's just it's ongoing work in progress. There's really I haven't found a magic bullet yet, but I'm always working on it, different ways to cope. Writing things down. One thing is really important is to recognize your emotions and honor them. Honor them. They're definitely here to help you and keep you safe. So you don't want to condemn yourself if you're having a hard time. There's processes. It's just always going to be going.
Okay, Sherry says that when she raises her vibrations higher, she gets spiritually attacked, and that does happen. Because you're starting to become a threat to the system. And these beings that are all around us will say, oh, that light's getting pretty damn bright. We got to bring that down a notch or two. And so one of my good friends that is, I think, very, very advanced spiritually, we were talking about that today. And, they will even set up I think a lot of people can be manipulated and used way more than we realize, way more. I mean, I think these beings can affect us, especially those that are very, very lower vibrationally orientated. People that really haven't had much exposure to the spiritual side of things. People that are completely in the matrix, let's put it that way. They can be very easily manipulated and used because they're not even aware of this. And often, these beings will literally, as we're going to look at some photos too, demonstrating spirits being in people. They'll literally take over people. They'll literally put seed thoughts in somebody's mind that normally wouldn't be there. And I think that's actually, part of what's going on with so much of the evil that we see in the world. I'm not going to blame it all on demons and devils and interdimensionals. Again, each one of us, we have to build up that powerful light within. And, we do that through different techniques. But really, it's all about being heart-centered, keeping in compassion and love. Because if as long as we stay there, we'll stay in a good state of being, which will offer us some protection. But at the same time, it does make you a target when they see your light growing brighter. And so many of us, the light's getting very bright.
Yeah, keeping that in mind too. A saying that really helps me is new level, new devil. And when they see you rising up and your vibration is getting higher, they are going to come after you. Keep that in mind. Also, another thing that really helped me is my diet. I don't eat any processed foods anymore. The sugar is completely gone. That helped a lot. Probably, oh my gosh, I don't know, 70% of a lot of my emotions were diet-based, a problem with my diet.
Yeah, food is not just fuel. Food is who we are. And there's a reason why they have GMOs. And it's not, partly it's about profits and controlling and manipulation. But I think part of it's most definitely a vibrational thing. And, I love these old time things, and you wonder, look at these faces. Oh my God, look what's in the sky. What is in the sky, and what are we really talking about here? What did people see in the past? Well, we're seeing a lot of things today too, are we not? Look at this. What is this? Is this real? I have no idea. I really don't. If it is, that's just pretty incredible. But we've been seeing things in the sky for a long time, and there's a lot of evidence to that effect as we look. Look at the face here. This looks so typical grayish pretty much over here. And these depictions, very much flying saucerish, very much flying saucerish. These are cave drawings. Look at these beings. Is this while they were on some shamanic trip on ayahuasca? Perhaps some of them are. That could be. Or something of the like. Some mushrooms. Here we have again the UFO beaming down. Obviously, UFOs, and we talked about that woodcut as well. There's so much evidence. And then the Vimanas. The Vimanas, when we're talking about the wars of the gods, and, humans fought alongside them. So, pretty fascinating stuff when we're talking about this. Now, some say that, the gods are all the same, pantheon to pantheon. That's probably the more I think of people that do this research, you draw conclusions, and, you might say that Poseidon is Enki, and you might say that obviously Jupiter and Zeus and perhaps Indra, another storm god, they're all the same type of being. It's really interesting.
Someone here said that one of the pictures you were looking at, that ball looks like one of the balls at the Vatican, and it does. And boy, they hold some pretty dark secrets. When I found out, like, the pineal gland looks like a pine cone, and when I started to awaken and I realized that that pine cone symbology is all over the Vatican, along with a lot of like Egyptian stuff, and they really do. And that show we were watching last night kind of tells you who's in control, because they always had the church right there when they were doing the wars. Wasn't that right?
Yeah, we were watching another Netflix one. This was about Henry V. But you see, because he doesn't want to go to war. His dad was a warmonger, and he doesn't want to go to war. He wants to bring peace in, and he's like a young kid. He's probably 18, 19 years old when he becomes king, maybe even younger. But then he gets manipulated by his advisor, who is also being manipulated by the church, So next thing you know, England's at war with France again. And of course, and there was false flags in that too, because there was like an assassination attempt on him that wasn't sent by the French. It was something that was orchestrated by the papacy and his advisors. False flags have been around forever. Yeah, it's a real thing. They've gone on forever. They're still going on. Only, nowadays, I think we're getting to be, we could get enough of the population to be like us and be really suspicious that we just don't buy it. As we said before, the witch hunts of the past is the terrorists of today. So, when you see something like, oh, we got Abu Bakr, I'm thinking, oh, okay, you burned the witch. Is he a nice guy? He didn't look like a nice guy by any means. Did he kill people? Probably. Was he maybe part of the whole bigger picture and just a pawn? Yeah, there's a ton of pawns, and people that think that they're way up on the chessboard are still just pawns when we get down to it.
It was really sad because his best friend died, and it says the king is one of the loneliest people, and he went back and he got his friend to help him be an advisor because he didn't trust the ones that he had. And because of that, one of those wars, his best friend died, and just to find out it was all for naught.
Right. And where he wanted to be actually just and kind of lenient, and he was always, ready to forgive. Then, after his friend died and he was affected by things emotionally, he just executed everybody. So, becoming part of the machine, part of the same system. And this has been going on and on and on for, a very long time. And it's nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. The same manipulations have been going on. And, I guess, okay, Minnie Wild saw it yesterday as well. It was a good flick. There are some really good ones. I love history. And I find it really interesting that now things are coming out and they're not like they were when we were younger. Because when we were younger, everything was a black and white world. We were taught everything was black and white, and that was probably part of the problem, because as I had mentioned before, you grow up with playing cowboys and Indians, and you're taught that the cowboys are the good guys and the Indians are the bad guys, and that there's, it's not like there really is a shades of gray in the world. It's all this black and white world, and that's where I was trying to go at with patriotism. And I made a statement on one video, we when we allow ourselves to be manipulated by ego, it blinds us. It just blinds us. So, when I hear people saying we live on the greatest country in the world, have you lived in every country of the world? Because if you haven't, then how can you make that statement? Really? Because you don't know, because you haven't lived everywhere else. You haven't gotten a feel for the people, the environment, the culture, the food, the everything, So it's all really about ego. Is really what it is. It's all about ego when you break it down, and they manipulate us through the ego.
They do. And I'm pretty sure that the folks in the other countries are very much like we are, where are we okay? They're very much like we are in the sense that,
Let's see if I could close some things out.
okay, they don't want to fight, you know. I mean, I don't want any wars, and like, look who is creating all the wars, you know. It's a big money grabbing propaganda. It's terrible. And yeah, when I was growing up, you know, cowboys and Indians, yeah, cowboys were the good guys, Indians were just savages, you know, when really for us to come in and tell them, you know, what their religion needs to be and everything else, you know, who are the true savages? Who are the true savages? It's just heartbreaking when you start learning our true history. And I know we've been told a lie since the very beginning, because everything else is just coming up different. It's abnormal. Nothing what they say is turning out to be true, you know. And I do homeschool, but and they still teach my daughter a lot of the same things they teach in regular school. It's public school online, I should say that. But a lot of times I'm there to talk to her and tell her, look, you know, we need to do this, because basically if you don't, you're going to go, or mom's going to go to jail. So it's like super necessary for her to go through school. But I try not to put so much emphasis on the grades. I don't want her stressed out. I don't want her to worry. I just want her to really be a child, worry about being a child, and do child things. I don't like to see her all stressed out over grades and stuff. And that's one nice thing about homeschooling that I can do right now.
I see things are buffering, so I hope you guys will hang in there and we'll get through this. And, you know, again, you run into, I wouldn't think we'd have issues at this time of day, because I don't think there's a ton of people. Okay, Mr. Gendosa says how to donate. Feel free to go over to Ko-Fi, which is under Evolutionary Energy Arts, and you could do a one-time donation over there. And we appreciate it. Or join us over on Patreon as well. And Patreon, as low as $1 a month, and you could get access to some videos that don't go up on YouTube. A lot of the topics that we talk about over there are stuff that, you know, not only would get demonetized, but get your channel in trouble. So again, while we're doing this, I'll put that out for you guys. Anybody that's interested, it definitely helps. As I was sharing with you guys, so much gets demonetized. Like the 2 videos I did yesterday, both were demonetized, and they still are, and they haven't, you know, looked at them at all. So thank you, Susan, so much. Thank you for that. Yeah, you know, yeah. The 1% against the 99%. I like those odds. Team humanity. You know, it's so important for us to stay in a positive vibratory frequency. We can't allow ourselves to get pulled down. We really can't.
We can't. So it's really important. And thank you so much. So much, Susan. It's super, super, super appreciated here. And yeah, Patreon is really nice. If you guys don't mind going over there, you know, you can donate like $1 a month. We're thinking about putting tiers in there, but we wanted to maybe send out some information and try to get more of what you guys wanted if we were to put tiers in there. Yeah, they are making it more and more difficult to put out the kind of stuff that we want to cover. The AI, I think it pulls us if we do certain vocabulary words. He could even lose his channel. So we have to be kind of careful. I just saw a bunch of people come in. Great Scott, Optimist, Andrew, Jason. Great to see you guys here. And yeah, I guess everything did tank. The video kind of took a dump, didn't it? Sorry, you guys.
Yeah. So yeah, we've had in the past, we've had a ton of blips. Most definitely. You know, there's been an awful lot of interference with technical issues, and then thankfully there wasn't so much for a long time. They just simply attack the views and suppress the views. So that's one of the ways that they do it. And many don't know, but I wasn't even really aware either. But like, you know, the super chats are wonderful, and we thank you. They do take a cut of that as well. YouTube does take a substantial cut. So, but we do appreciate it because every bit helps. And, It really is a war that's going on right now. It really is a war, and it's a war basically of our hearts and our souls when you get down to it. Truly, this is a spiritual war, being that, how do we define spirituality? Well, we see it as something, what? Something finer, right? Mm-hmm. Something, if we really have to look at it, something of a higher vibration, right? Of a different type of reality. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're heading now. We're heading towards the higher frequencies, the higher vibrations. As some have touched on, we're connecting with our higher self. Jay Griffin says, I'm not getting your notifications. Again, with that, they have a new algorithm. So now, even if you're subscribed, they don't have to send you notifications. They send notifications to you of whatever they feel. It's the bottom line. So the only way you could do it is to click all, and then you'll probably get some notifications at least. But we do a show every day. As far as at least a video every day. Usually most days there's 2 or 3, sometimes 4 or more videos that go up between the 2 channels, and then also on Patreon. And so we appreciate you guys joining us and just checking it out and seeing what's happening.
Yeah, Stephanie is asking, do we get 100% of the Ko-Fi PayPal? I think we do, right? 100%.
Yeah, they have a fee they charge, but it's relatively small, so it's about 10%. Well, it comes out to about 10%. YouTube actually can take as much as 55%. And, like we did a live the other day, and, it just kind of blew my mind because, people did do super chats more than usual. And it was like, where was it? Because they took a huge cut. They took probably like 60%. And so I sent them just a message, but you never get an answer. So they could do whatever they want to do. That's the bottom line, which is really, really sad. That's why a lot of channels that are speaking about things that we're not going to be able to speak at on the main, programs like YouTube and, the like. What was the other one? I forget. There was one other one that shut down our channel. But there are options out there, and going through like Patreon and Ko-Fi, there are going to be things that allow people to keep doing these things because obviously they want to shut us down as much as possible. They don't want us to get this type of message out there. Basically, a message of self-empowerment, and also just that how can we help ourselves? It's really, unfortunately, it's all about money and control.
It is, and keeping our vibration high. And that, for me, that means I eat, my fruits and vegetables, which I never, ever ate before. I was so terrible. I ate all the processed stuff, everything out of a box that I could find. But it was mostly because I was really tired. But now, even if I were tired, it's just not worth it to eat the processed food because it does lower your vibration. And pulling that vibration back up isn't easy. But another thing that I do is if I do have a thought that's lower in energy, I'll knock it out, or I'll make my brain blank. It's kind of hard to describe how I do that. But that's what I do, and I think making our vibrations higher is something we should prioritize like every day, and I know how difficult it is.
So Cindy was talking about how we were going to, we were talking about putting tiers in Patreon, and so that's one of the things that we're definitely going to do, and probably over the next day or two. And so, like one tier I was thinking of would include like a free reading each month. Another tier would include a free session each month. So at a certain level, you would get a one-on-one session with us. And so we'll be talking more about what we do really in depth in the future as well. And if anything ever happened, look for us on other venues because we are going to be hopefully a strong force in other venues as well. Because these things are going through in waves right now. As what I've heard now is like the next big wave is going to be all the alternative health that's going to start to have issues, or where they're going to kind of start putting that down. So things about, like we were talking about, like fasting, different herbs that could help with things, even things like meditation and QiGong. They're not crazy about that. They really don't really like it when we talk about these things, because it takes money and power away from certain industries, unfortunately. And obviously certain substances that people will take, like if you go and get prescribed a certain prescription, I mean, like Zymbalta. It was, commercial for Zymbalta came up, and it does, the list of things that it does that could cause harm with is 10 times the benefit. It's just crazy. Thank you, Osboy. We love you. We thank you for your support. You've been such a strong supporter for us, and we truly appreciate it.
We do, totally. I mean, you guys are super awesome, and yeah, Michael is right. They are starting to attack things like we talked about fasting, and I think they demonetize that. So in a way, it's sort of kind of a good way to know what things are working, I guess, because they don't want it out there in the mainstream. And there's just another word that I won't even say because it'll go up and they'll just automatically demonetize it. But yeah, we're going to be putting up tiers, and I think it's going to be fun. We're going to keep things growing more and more and more. And I'm not sure. Are we going to put out a poll to see what they want for the tiers? I don't know how to do that. We haven't figured that out yet, but we're working on it for sure.
And yeah, I mean, control has been something that's gone on for a long time, a real long time. And it goes back, thousands of years as we talk about it. And I think that's part of what people are seeing in the skies, So I still wonder, as we were talking about, were there survivors that went underground that never had amnesia like us, right? Because we are a society with amnesia. We don't even know what our history really is. We really don't. And we're discovering that now. So what if some of these people went in the ground, maintained their technology, came back out when things were okay, and, have been controlling mankind because they've always maintained their technology and they understand the reality of things. Is that what we're looking at as we see like a UFO over the shoulder of the Madonna there? And the baptism of Christ. Just, it's so interesting seeing all this stuff. Look at these perfect flying saucers there. Perfect flying saucers, man. It's just pretty interesting when you really look at it. It's so curious. Now here we have, somebody basically, there goes the spirit coming out, and is this supposed to be the devil grabbing a hold of the spirit of the person that's passing on? And they look sad. This was a topic. And somebody had brought up when we were talking about this is interesting stuff too, but we were talking about the church, the Catholic Church, understanding the reincarnation process and, manipulating it. And it's really creepy. Remember when we were having that conversation?
That's really creepy. Yeah, I mean, I think they know so many things, and like a lot of information is underground in the Vatican, which is totally not fair. And that's why I think it's important on these venues that we all come together and we bounce stuff off of each other. Like you guys, I mean, you guys are a valuable wealth of information. And Chris P is saying how, I think you said a lot of the churches are built on the ley lines. I don't remember your exact words there. But also what we noticed is not too far from here, where there's always this little tiny cluster of earthquakes, there happens to be a military base, a military base right there. And then there's all these, oh, hi, Rubber Mosquito. Hi, you guys. Yeah, there's all these little earthquakes going on, which is really super curious to me. They know a lot that we don't.
As we touched on before, there's so many deep underground military bases, and these happen to be in these places that, according to the Native Americans, are places where They're entrances into the inner earth where there are, other beings that are not necessarily Homo sapiens sapiens. So interesting how these military bases pop up in these areas. Interesting how Nevada is 85% owned by the federal government. Even California was close to 50%. When you think about it, they own the West. So much of the West is off limits to us, and there's things that are hidden out here in the West. It's really, really interesting. I mean, I see evidence of definitely destruction on a big scale, and it makes me wonder if this was a place where there were some of those big outposts of these groups, whether they're extraterrestrial or whether they're survivors of Atlantis and Lemuria. Yeah, everybody has their own thoughts on all that. But is this, an area where there was like tremendous wars going on? Was it the red-haired giants that they don't want us talking about? What's really going on? Sedona has such a vibe. It has such an interesting vibe, and finally got there about 4 months ago, 3-4 months ago. And I'm looking at all these magnificent rock formations and thinking, these are not rock formations. I just feel the energy from them. We got really close to some of them. And I was getting dizzy from all the energy in my crown chakra. Actually had to kind of go and like lean up against the car at one point because there was so much energy coming in. Very, very interesting, most definitely.
It is. It's really curious. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff out there that just screams that we are not alone. Yet, it's never admitted. And it's not just even the alien thing either. It's the medicine. The medicine. They have us on these prescription drugs that really make us sick if we try to get off of them. And I think part of the prescription drug thing is where they put us on, and then over time, it might take a few months or even a few years, we develop other symptoms, and then we get another drug for that, and on and on and on. And that's something that I fought for years to get off of those things, and I did finally get off of them, but it took a long time. And there's some of them there where I had to go down by crumbs, just like crumbs, and it took me about a year, and I'm off of them. And now, I mean, I'm starting to wake up. The senses are coming back. The abilities are coming back. A lot of good things are happening. The vibration is going up. It's, they know so much. It's just, we're not on a level playing field. That's what bothers me. We're just not.
Yeah, exactly. And, but we're catching up, and many of us are putting, two and two together, just so to speak. And, I want to thank you guys again for joining us today. So Foo Fighters. These Foo Fighters are another interesting phenomenon. Like these silvery orbs that were reported during World War II and reported around dogfights. What are they? What really are they? There were so many reports of them. These balls of light. As you see here, silver balls floating in air. Nazis' newest war device. This is from 1944. As the Allied armies ground out new gains on the Western Front today, the Germans were disclosed to have thrown a new device into the war, mysterious silvery balls which float in the air. Pilots report seeing these objects both individually and in clusters during forays over the Reich. So the purpose of the floaters was not immediately evident. It is possible that they represent a new anti-aircraft defense instrument or weapon. The dispatch was heavily censored at Supreme headquarters. Kind of curious, is that not? And here again, this is another print on that. So these things were real. They were really seen. And, we have photos of them, and I've caught a ton of them here, honestly, in videos. And, oops, that reminds me. I had put some out. See, now they're not there. They disappeared. I hate that when that happens. But, I could dig some up. Again, interference. These type of things happen all the time. And so I had gotten some amazing shots. This is like an orb. This thing just came in one of my videos and just swooped in front of us. And this is close to LA when we were visiting Soul Reviver, who I don't think is in the chat today. This thing came so close to my head, didn't hit me. Made me think of the orb in that movie Phantasm, if you guys remember. But thankfully, it didn't have a little blade spinning on the front of it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, super cool, super clear. I've gotten so many pictures like this, as you see it right here. So, is that a Foo Fighter? What do you guys think? You think that's a Foo Fighter? Is that what they saw? So, if they were around then and they're around now, oh, yeah, and Rubber Mosquito. Gosh, I so much of the time I go and put photos up, and then they get taken down, mysteriously. But Jen had taken some photos of an orb in the North Carolina, and because she sees, her and her hubby see them every so often, and they'll come by. It's pretty amazing. I don't know exactly whose they are. I really don't know.
No, I don't know. But I do know a lot of it's hidden, and it's pretty ridiculous how they sit there and they don't think that we're going to think anything different. But then if we do think something different and we want to post it online, we get in trouble for that. So it's all a very curious system. And I think something like that did happen where people who were able to, escape from the last cataclysm. I can't even talk now. I'm getting tired. They probably were down there and they did come up because they know what's going on. So we have that going against us too, which is never very fair. And then they know how to get around the karmic issues too. And I remember that what was interesting with that one is we did our mantras and our meditation before you did that video, and you got a ton of stuff out of that video.
Oh, I did.
Mm-hmm. That was when we were up with our brother Netsaya in California. That was a really good one. So that just, tells you that, yeah, if, the mantras, the meditation, it does put you in on the other side with, they do want to help. I do believe there's forces out there that definitely want to help us. What's this?
Salmon Player says, has anybody in here been kidnapped or had an alien encounter? Well, Cindy's had, I have too, but not for a long time. But you've had a lot of sleep paralysis where that's what was going on. I mean, you actually remember being in a ship. You actually remember seeing humans in some sort of containers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I usually don't talk about it, but it's okay. It's okay. No, it's yeah, I do remember. I saw like programming. I could see programming, and then we're in like a ship, and there's people behind these desks, and they are programming. And yeah, I've had a lot of sleep paralysis, and that's another thing that I didn't realize growing up. I didn't realize what was happening to me, but the more awake I become, the more I know and I understand what exactly was happening. It's all really kind of curious and interesting, why they do what they do.
Right, exactly. And it was interesting because when she told me what she saw, and then I've covered the story of I'm trying to think of her name again. Ray Fowler did a book on it. Betty Andreasson, exactly what Betty Andreasson saw is what she saw. So they saw the same sort of thing. So, I mean, I don't remember ever being up in a ship or anything like that. But I have seen the beings, and I have saw a being at the side of my bed, more than once. And my kids have too. Most definitely, my kids have. They were tormented, both of them, by it, all their lives. So it's, I think, a lot more common than we think. And I'm type B negative, and I think that's part of it. It's part of the bloodlines. Now, you don't know your blood type. We should get it checked at some point. Be curious as well. And then Chris talks about walk-ins as well. And that's interesting in and of itself.
That is interesting, the walk-in situation. I don't know what happened to me when I went up there. And someone said I was in a cloning center. Could have very well been. I don't know, But yeah, it's like we're not taught these things growing up, so you're treated kind of badly and you're shunned and you're called names, and people really look down on you if you talk about it. And I think that's part of the isolation. That's another part of their little plan that they do, is they keep us afraid of each other.
Yeah, they do. And so, Laura Eisenhower keeps coming up from several people. So, it's probably the third person in 3 days that said you got to get together with Laura Eisenhower. So that's interesting. I don't think I've ever gotten in contact with her, but it's interesting. It really is interesting. And somebody mentions Teal Swan. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings on them as well. So Salmon Player says, do you think that aliens would be a harm to us? The way you're describing it, it seems as if they would want to harm us. I think there's programs. I think they view us. I think there's different beings up there. There's a lot of different beings, and some of them are very benevolent. And we've had experiences with some extremely benevolent ones, and we've had some experiences that, the way I would put it, it would be just like if a scientist was doing an experiment with a lab animal, to a degree, sort of like, they might not want to kill the puppy, and we don't want any puppies being killed,
No.
but at the same time, they're viewing you just like you're just a subject. This is an experiment. You're just a subject is the feeling I get from the ones that I'm talking about, which is the grays and I either call them the tall whites or the tall grays, which are affiliated with the reptilians. So not benevolent, but there are beings that are definitely benevolent. And I've had experiences that I would describe as angelic, honestly, that were just blissful. So yeah, I mean, this is what I saw. And this guy was about 8 to 9 feet tall, I would say. His arms were very much like this, very thin, very spindly. And the look on his face says it all, because that's basically what his face looked like. And then the other one I saw when I was younger kind of scared me a little bit too as a little kid. Yeah, kind of like that. This type of face. Very much. So, and then I've also had an experience with something that I feel was probably a Naga, but in a dimensional basis. And so the Nagas are a form of reptilian. They're usually depicted very serpentine. We might think of them as the biblical serpent in some ways. Yeah, very much like that. So those have been my experiences. And then also there's the mantis, which these mantis beings, I think they're neutral. Honestly, I think they just are. They are all about their work. They're all about their work. Their work is everything. So I don't think they're necessarily malevolent, but I think they're just concerned with what they're doing. And they seem to be geneticists or healers or doctors. And is that the impression you got? That is the
Oh yeah, there's some of them. I feel like they're even surgeons. That's the impressions that I got when I was looking at yours. You have quite a few around you, and when you do your energy work, they come and they help. And there's some that actually go in and they're like surgeons. So it's all very curious, and I know on some level other people, probably the Vatican, knows a lot more about what's going on, when it's going on, and sometimes people can channel in and they can see other things that are going on around us. And I'm just realizing now that these are, being an extrasensory, these are things that I can do, but I'm not I'm not educated on like how all the processes work. What else can I do? I know that I'm extremely sensitive, and I do get impressions in my head, and sometimes like when I see something like this, I get a little sick because somewhere in my soul I know that those are real and they're not very nice.
Yeah. So there's all different. And then I've seen this. I awoke once to this golden orb of light that was maybe a little bit bigger than a basketball, but it was amazingly golden, and it kind of looked like a basketball with an eye shape on the inside. And I felt totally that it was watching me, but you know what? It felt completely angelic. And right after that, about 2 nights later, I woke to the most beautiful music I've ever heard. It can only be described as angelic. So, I took that to be a very, very high vibrational meeting. And then there was another orb that was kind of an orange pinkish, which came back basically 4 times in a couple weeks period. And that I also feel is a very, very benevolent being. And it actually morphed, and it morphed into I'm not going to say what it morphed into, but it morphed into a being that is definitely one of the ones that looks over me. So, I know that they're there. There are benevolent ones that keep us protected from these ones, and without them, many of us would be subject to a lot more attacks than we are.
Yeah, we would. And I think, I know that the children that are in school now, a lot of them are highly sensitive, and I think it's important to teach our kids that their emotions are really, really important, because they might grow up, they might be getting impressions of these creatures, and they're probably might even get outcasted, or they're going to get told that they're not seeing what they're seeing, which can really ruin a child. They think there's something wrong with them when there's not. But yeah, these things are really creepy to me. I mean, there's some of them, like the mantis, I believe they're like super scientific. They seem like really smart, and I don't think they're all bad. They're more business than anything. Yeah, this is some really good stuff. I just wish we had more information, more confirmation, but we're getting there. We're all coming together and we're talking to each other. Like, the chat is super full of awesome people that you guys know quite a lot of stuff, and it really helps me.
Well, I think a lot of people out there have had the same experiences. That's why I was like really getting at. It's like, I think people that are gravitated to this channel, like our family members here, I bet you, I don't know, maybe a third of us to half of us have had these experiences. Maybe even more. And so White Porcelain says zoo hypothesis. Yes, that's it. There's most definitely genetic experiments going on. So are they shapeshifters? But you could feel, I think some are shapeshifters, and they can take different forms. And I was visited by something when I was, I think maybe I was 14. Could have been a shapeshifter, and it wasn't just me that saw it. Actually, a friend of mine saw it too. And I don't know, it's crazy. But I do think that there are distinct classifications. Like, I do think that the mantids that we're talking about, that is what they are. I do think that the nagas too, that is what they are. Can some reptilians and other beings change shape? Sure, I think they can, and I think some do. But I do think that some have an actual form too, that is their true form. But the thing is feeling their energy and their vibrations. So that's it. Like that tall gray one, or that one I was showing you guys, that was 8 to 9 feet tall, he didn't feel malevolent. He really didn't. He felt completely indifferent. Now, I have seen malevolent too, and it's very different.
Oh yeah, and Susan Donahue just brought up the Truman Show, and the sky will roll up like a scroll. Yeah, I think that it is. It's all like a hologram. And something tells me though, like when I do die and I do shed this skin, it's like gonna be one big joke. I mean, all my friends are gonna be around me saying, "Yay, you made it! You did a good job or a bad job," and oh my goodness, he just brought up these guys here.
Yeah, because I've seen these beings that have like the red glowing eyes, and now they felt purely malevolent. I mean, those things felt completely malevolent. So I'll take an encounter with one of those ETs, even one of the ETs that I know that doesn't have my best interest in mind, over one of these type of things. As far as the vibrational feel of them, I've seen things like this on about 3 or 4 occasions visually, with other people seeing them as well. One time my ex woke me up and was so terrified, actually jumped on me like a cat and like scratched me because she was digging her claws into me so much because she was so scared, pointing at the ceiling. And there was a thing up there that had red glowing eyes and looked like a black hole. That's exactly what it looked like. And so I did that lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram throughout the house, and it didn't come back, which was good. Now, that's the other thing with these things. I don't think they're that powerful. I think they just feed off of fear. I think we are way more powerful, but they are nasty, just nasty, not pleasant at all.
No, they're not very nice. I think they definitely feed off of our fear, and that's another reason to keep our vibration high and knock those fear thoughts out of our brains, and eat better too, because the food that we eat, that's going to become human. So we want to try to eat the best possible food that we can put in our bodies, even though it might cost a little bit more money. I think it's important to keep our vibrations up and above these things.
Most definitely. So yeah, I did a video on the second channel, EE-Arts, that gives you a ritual. It's Judeo-Christian in origin, but you could just modify it to fit you, so you don't have to do it in that way. But basically, it's really that we all really do have the power within us to push back against any of the negative beings. And really, we just haven't realized our own power, because our own power is pretty impressive once we get into contact with it, into contact with our higher self, the Christ energy, source energy. Law of One, really describes these things pretty well, in my opinion. I do think Law of One's really a fascinating subject in and of itself. Susan says, yeah, they could scare the crap out of us, but they can't harm us. Because I woke one time when my son was being tormented. He was like 8 years old and having nightmares. So he came and slept in the room with me. And I just sensed something in the middle of the night. And there was one of those things hovering over him. And it was doing something to his energy. And, so I just got so pissed at it. I basically like swiped at it and told it to get the bleep out of here. And it just hissed at me and took right off. It just took right off immediately. So if I had showed fear, it probably would have just stuck around, but there was no fear. So I was just ticked, because I could see it was doing something to my son. And of course, a parent will defend their kids strongly. So most definitely, yeah. Sage, sweetgrass, we have that, frankincense and myrrh, most definitely. So I want to thank you guys for joining us. We went a little bit longer than we anticipated, but it's always awesome. And we're thinking about trying to do this at regular times on a regular basis, like perhaps every morning around 9 p.m. PST, or 9 a.m. PST was one of the times I was thinking about, which would be, noon Eastern Standard Time, maybe Monday through Friday, and do a different time on the weekend. Because we could talk about so much more. You just get so much more info out when you're doing lives like this. But also, maybe that's what we should throw out there for a poll. What times work best for people as well? So we look forward to seeing you guys again. Thank you so much for your support on Patreon, Ko-Fi, and with the Super Chats as well. And double check, make sure you are subscribed and have the bell clicked on both. So hopefully you'll get notifications. But there will be a video out every single day.
Absolutely, you guys. God bless and namaste.
Namaste, my friends.